period. So we've got Ms. Tucker and the Huffs. Is there anyone else who is here that is intending to speak on multi-purpose? Let me say this about our young folks. The board is probably going to allow kids to speak whether they're signed up or not. If they've got something that they prepared and that they want to, it's not even necessary that they sign up. Understand that we're going to use a clock, so to speak, to try to keep this as fair as we possibly can. The board has a discretion to understand if we've got other business we need to attend to. So it's very, very important that we respect the time. If I can say this at this time, it's also important that, and the media's here, it's important, I think, that others, not just in Rankin County, but other places are going to be watching what is happening here. I hope that we can be respectful of one another's time and respectful of one another's situations developed here today that reflect negatively on our county. None of us want that. And so we appreciate
Hey, John, did you go by that place?
Having said that,
He said they just unloaded it there for temporary.
is there anyone else who at this time knows right now that within that context of that 15 minutes they will walk this to the rest of the board about retaining? Okay. And let me say this as well. This is not the only meeting where we'll have public comment.
Canopy.
Okay. We also have a meeting on Monday. There's a public comment session on Monday. We will have other public comment times. All right. And now at this time, those who are here to speak in favor of the county doing something with the multi-purpose. Mayor, I think you're going to speak. Brian, yes, sir. Brian Herndon, so you'll put Brian Herndon. And yes, sir, you're Martin. Okay, you'll have to.
Yeah. Yeah, you blew my
Hey,
mind.
Craig, if you would, I think I heard it, but make sure that they understand that.
Yeah.
I think I heard you say that the cameras are rolling, so.
Media's here and this meeting is video.
Right. Thank you, Craig.
When you come forward to speak, if you'll please help us state your name and your address before you address it. It's called public comment for a reason. This is your opportunity to comment, make comments to the board. If you will address your comments, and if you have any questions, although we tip it to the board and not to others, that will help us. Okay? Thank you.
Before we get started, and I appreciate everyone being here. Before we get started, in commission meeting first, which will not take probably very long, with Miss Renee and Mr. John over there handling this. They run us through pretty quick. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of the meeting.
Because I know there's some here for that may not want to sit through the whole meeting.
Right, that's correct. So if everyone is prepared, this time I'd like to call the work session planning meeting. I would like to have Mr. Craig Slade do our invocation for us, please, sir.
Join me as we pray. Father, once again, we want to acknowledge your presence here. We want to thank you for being here, Lord. We want to thank you now, Lord, to participate in government. Thank you, Lord, for a system that has been ordained by you. Father, a system that has been protected by men and women who are willing to sacrifice everything, so that we men who are willing to sacrifice their time and their careers, Father, all of their effort to serve the interests of this county and the citizens who are here. Father, I pray that you to make the best decisions in the best interest of the county. In Christ's name.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Craig. All right, this time, thank you, ma'am. This time we have 27, 2014 minutes.
Don't move. Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Old business.
Okay, the first circle, the property is located on the east side of Kitty Hawk Circle. It's a 1.30 acre parcel that's zoned RE1. This is not a part of the Kitty Hawk 10.63 acre parcel that joins Kitty Hawk to the rear. The lot does not meet the 100-foot minimum lot width or frontage requirement of the RE1 zoning. The owner of the property that the property will not be further subdivided.
Okay.
correct, this is in Mr. Wood's district.
Right.
He's been involved in this, is aware of what we've done.
Right.
And to my knowledge, he is in service.
Motion to grant that then?
This is just a review, the hearing's Monday.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Review
okay.
is
Yeah,
Monday,
right,
okay,
all right.
review,
Okay.
okay.
All right, and the second item is dimensional variance for Keisha White at 213 Circle. It is a 2.54 acre parcel zoned RE1. It also doesn't meet the dimensional requirements of the RE1 zoning, and they've also provided the county.
Okay,
It's the
and
same situation.
same situation, he's good
Okay.
with it, had no calls and
Good.
everything, so everything's good, okay. Anything under other old business?
That's it.
Okay, new consideration.
Kirby Drive is located off of Florence Byram Road. It's in District 1. This is a 1.40 acre parcel that's zoned RE1A. Home on that parcel. Mr. Evans is wanting to build a second dwelling on this parcel for a home for his son. This is his existing home. This is his site plan. This is a view of Mr. Evans' home. This just shows the area where the new home would be located. And then,
Okay.
Okay, do I have a motion to set a public hearing for 5/5/14?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions? Motion carries.
okay, next is a conditional use request for Robert Wall Jr. at 569 Seventh Day Road. This is the approximate location on 7th Day. There's an existing home on this property that Mr. Wall is going to tear down. This is a site plan. It shows the existing home and home. This is the actual view of that lot. You can see the old home there on the property. And these are just surrounding properties. Mobile homes are allowed in.
We could actually act on that today.
I make
Yes, sir.
motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion
Just so
carries.
you'll know, the road, you don't, the pictures you see there are not from the road. It's property that sits back really quite a distance off the road.
Okay,
Good morning.
good morning.
Mr. President, we've got, it looks like 3 nuisance property hearings that we need to conduct this morning. The first is for a District 1 property, Jonathan B. Lawson. There's anyone here to speak on the issue of the Jonathan B. Lawson nuisance property hearing? Anyone? Mr. President, I don't see anyone. Renee, if you'll go through the pictures.
To East Mountain Creek Road. It's on the corner of East Mountain Creek and South Enoch Grove Road. These pictures show the condition of the property on February 26th. We've received notice asking him to clean up the rubbish and debris, and the inoperable vehicles was received. We haven't had any response from Mr. Lawson. And then any change in the condition of the property, except that maybe it is worse rather than better.
Okay.
Mr. President, this time we'll close that public hearing, and it'd be appropriate to take
Any
it.
questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Just to clarify for the minutes, Jared, I think you want to use the justice court process on that one, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
It's hauling debris in, and this particular home residence is right on the main stream. It's not sitting off the road or anything. So I don't, comes in debris and all and unloading it.
Yes, sir.
So,
All right, at this time, item 4 under new considerations is the Jimmy Clark nuisance, another District 1 parcel. At this time, we'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if is here to speak on the issue of the Jimmy Clark nuisance matter. Mr. Clark? Anyone? Mr. President, I don't see Mr. Clark or any photos.
Okay, this is located at 206 Morrison Road. These pictures were taken January 7th of 2014. This property is on the corner of Morrison and Mullican Road. Property before as a nuisance. We originally had Mr. Clark scheduled to come in May of 2013, but he had some problems, and so we held off, and we're trying to, however, we received a new complaint in January of 14. And these are the pictures that were taken yesterday. Some cleanup has started.
Nothing.
He hasn't called. I'm not sure Dwayne may have spoken with him.
I hadn't seen him in 6 months. I don't know if
Yeah.
they're still there or not.
This is ongoing, that I've seen him, but this has just been ongoing for several years. So, all I know is we're going to declare a nuisance, so I don't know what else to do. Give him every opportunity. He cleans up one time and then moves right back. So, and it's right there again, right there, one house outside the city limits of Florence.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. President, this time we'll close that public hearing to be appropriate to take action.
Okay, a nuisance property of the court systems.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Last property is a District 4 property. This time we'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if Mr. Hall or anyone else is here to speak in the matter of the Timothy Hall nuisance property hearing. Anyone? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here.
Located at 120 Rankin Road. These pictures were taken February 18th. The certified mail, the first letter asking him to clean up, was received. And these are the new pictures that were taken yesterday. There hasn't been any change in the condition.
Mr. President, this time we'll close that public hearing. It'll be appropriate to take action.
I'll make a motion we declare it a nuisance.
Second. Motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Bishop. Any questions? All in favor say thank you. Is that all on new considerations?
That's it.
Okay, site plan architectural review.
There isn't any.
Okay.
Okay.
Got the next beginning at 9 a.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn till then?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Johnson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bishop. I'm sorry, Mr. Morrison, Mr. Bishop. Like sign, motion carries. Thank y'all. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call to order meeting to the Rankin County Board of Supervisors on a work session at this time. And as stated from Mr. Slade that we'd like to take comments. Do we have a set panel from the side that wants to keep the in as is? Do we have some representatives?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Come forward.
Deborah Tucker, come on forward. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. County, who are interested in saving our Rankin County multi-purpose building and for the purpose of which it was built. First thing I want to do is ask for in a meeting the other day with some of you supervisors.
Yes, ma'am.
You gave us the financials we needed. You gave us an appraised value that I want everybody in this room to know that that facility alone, those two buildings are, that's not counting the 33 acres that go with that property. So that's a lot of money to a taxpayer. And thank you for that information. You asked for what you gave it to us. And on that rental schedule, it proves that that facility is being used for what it was built for, by the citizens of Rankin County and for a lot more. Brought in from that facility. It's on your financials. And the greatest revenue was brought in last year. So it was brought to our attention from last week that someone from the county Board of Supervisors went to the city over a year ago and asked them to take over that facility because it was losing. The city said no. They weren't interested in it. And yet, on your webpage, you advertise the economic impact, food, shopping, car dealerships, the Rankin County Co-op. That's revenue that goes to the city of Brandon. So my first question to you is this, and you just, when you went to the city over a year ago and it said that it was losing money to the tune of $150,000, what did you do? I can't find where there was anything done. There was nothing done with the management. There was nothing done to work on a security utility bill that's in your budget of $45,000. Hear of in the last week, but it seems like it could have been something done a long time ago. My second question to you is more to Mr. Stringer on your financials that you gave us. It says grants and subsidies. Do you know what that's for? Nope. Do you know what that's for, Mr. Wilcox?
I have no idea.
Well, I do. Supervisors make to the children of this county, whether they play baseball, they swim on a swim team, they play soccer, you give them that money, and I appreciate it.
Well, actually, I think that goes just to the facility. That's for like premiums for 4-H and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Okay, but that doesn't go in our budget. I don't think so. We'll argue it in a. So if you take that 700 and that line item, 750 for $25,000, and you deduct that from what your paper, that brings us to a total of $67,662, the deficit. That's not much for an operating expense. Never built to make money, and I don't know many government buildings that were. There's 150,000 citizens approximately in the county. And you know, good is not a lot of money for any taxpayer. It's not even 2 Happy Meals. That's fact. This building was built for the interest of children. Is it just a place that Mr. Stringer referred to as a place where recreational equine enthusiasts go to enjoy it? No, it's not. They're learning and they're growing. They're participating in 4-H. They're participating in FFA, junior high and high school rodeo, Cattlemen's Association. And what do they get from all that? They get scholarships. And I'm not sitting in your seat, but if I were, I don't think I could look myself in the mirror in the morning if I was willing to take a 4.5 million young people that have grown up there and give it to the city and tell them, look, your extracurricular activity isn't important. It's okay for the baseball players to get a scholarship every now and then. Oh, that brings me to one other thing. We've done a lot of digging. And let me just tell you what, this group of people behind me, they speak volumes. Because what we've done in less than a week, I want to bring up a constitutional law in the state constitution. And hold your tongue, Mr. Clay. It's code number 19-7-3. And the citizens of Rankin County, the taxpayers of this county, look into that law. But you know what? I've had legal counsel, not from one, not from two, and not from and at the bottom line, they all came up with the same conclusion. And if you go, we had one person that spent their time searching the Mississippi Attorney General's website for database on opinion. I didn't bring that stack of opinions with me because it was a little heavy. But at the bottom of all of them, and when you get down to the final conclusion, they all state one thing. Unless they compensate them for fair market value of that property, the county also has to prove what you gave me, a schedule that it's used for the place, that building's not being used for the purpose it was built. So, if you can legally do it, I've got one more little bump in the road for you. Lawrence, Pearl, Glowwood. I didn't go to Pelahatchie because that's another can of worms that we're not going to talk about today. But every one of those cities, they have that 33 acres. And Mr. Stringer, I don't think the county can afford it. I might be wrong, but I don't think they can. Over what some people have let out to believe everyone they can talk to, it's $100,000 to $150,000 issue, when in all reality, on your paper. And as far as doing a good thing for the city of Brandon, Mr. Wilcox, that was your statement to me in the meeting we had the other day. You wanted to do a good thing for the city. And these hands have dug in your dirt, planted trees, planted shrubs, pulled weeds, and watered the flowers on the town square, all to beautify the city. And I have nothing against the facility that the city is proposing to build. We want to work with them, and we've got a solution. We've got two solutions, and they're actually quite simple, and it didn't. This is the good news, gentlemen. We have the answer to make it all a win-win situation. This is a county map. Mr. Lee, I'm all for your 124 acres in your ball field. But what I'm not for is a little piece of puzzle that's our facility and our 33 acres for. Hopefully, you gentlemen can see the real picture here. There's 72 acres out there that join your 124 acres. It surrounds our 30, except for trails and beautifying the interstate. That was one of Mr. Lee's big points the other day, other than our facility not being used, was to beautify the interstate. I'm all about beautiful. Let's, as a county, if we want to do something and do something for the city, let's take this property that absolutely has no other use but for beautification and trails. That wall, that I don't know if we can actually do that. But here's your puzzle piece. Mr. Lee, Board of Supervisors. Let's make it a win-win solution for everybody. The second part of it is something that means a lot to me personally. When this building was built, Georgia Pope, our 4-H agent for, what, 28 more time than most 4-H's do, building the 4-H program in the county. And when a $50,000 seed grant came available, she put together by the Board of Supervisors, there was one person from each district that had an agriculture background or an agriculture interest. There was someone from the association. And we worked for a long time to get that building built, and we're proud of it. We appreciate it. Some people in this county don't know it exists. It's not like a lot more people drive by the soccer fields and the baseball fields. Then again, a lot of people in this county don't know that we still have a huge agriculture business going on in Rankin tax money. I don't know how much you pay when you sit on a little bitty land in a piece of the city in a subdivision, but I know what you pay when you own hundreds of acres, and it's a lot of money. So, $1 million plus facility away, taxpayers' money that we put into that building, we the taxpayers. $50,000 of it was a grant. The rest of it, we paid for, and we're not willing to give it. We've got the information. I've got a notebook here that's full that we came up with in just a few days. So there's power here. There's determination here. And we're offering it to you. We the taxpayers. Let us change that facility. If it's such a detrimental thing at $60,000 to $70,000, $80,000 a year, let's be the good guy. To make the city happy, to make us happy, the taxpayers happy. The game's on, gentlemen, and we're ready to play. Mr. Clay, Mr. Slade, we as taxpayers don't want to go in a courtroom and spend some extra tax dollars on a battle that doesn't need to be fought. But we will. Mr. Stringer, I don't like to play number games. But that line, number 750, at $25,000, is a lot of money in the amount of money we're looking at. And Mr. Wilcox, on a piece of property that has now the 5th generation living on it, and it's a farm, and it's all at 10 minutes from Dogwood Mall, and not many people know it exists. But we're raising, call it the funny farm, because I've got an 88-year-old mother-in-law that lives upstairs. I've got 2 daughters that live next door, a mother that lives down the hill, and I've got 3 grandchildren, 2, 4, and 6. And explained to my 88-year-old mother-in-law, why I had ignored her for the last several days. She thought I was mad at her. So we had a little talk. This is what I got from her conversation. The commissioner would be really unhappy about this. And if you don't know who I'm referring to when somebody of that age refers to the Commissioner of Agriculture, Lester Spell, or the Commissioner of Agriculture, Steve Smith, it's to Jim Buck Ross. It was a lifetime resident of Rankin County, or did. So I came downstairs and I faced the chaos of my husband wanting dinner, my 2 daughters wanting to know what I was going to say today, a 2- and 4-year-old running around the house, they came to me and said this: I want to write a speech too, Dee Dee. And I told her, okay, what you want to write a speech about? I want to write a speech about the arena. But for a 6-year-old, it spoke volumes. So we sat there and sounded out words and helped her spell things. I asked her if she wanted to come, and her mother would be mad she couldn't miss school. So I promised her I'd bring it to you, and I did. But in this letter from a 6-year-old, there's one word in there that I think would bring attention to a lot of people, and that word's special. Special to the children that ride there today, to the children that showed livestock yesterday and will show livestock tomorrow. It's special to us as taxpayers because we believe in it and we'll fight for it, and we can do that. And you, as the Board of Supervisors, the county attorney, and the county administration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A little over 17 minutes, so
Okay.
we're excess of the 15-minute period. There are a couple of others, the Huffs, who had indicated an intention to speak here. I just wanted to call your attention to the time issue and limit
Yeah.
discussion.
Right. Looks like we may get closer to 30 minutes on each side, so.
Right.
The Huffs, Debbie Huff and John Mark Huff. Good morning. How you doing today?
Doing great, thank you. Debbie Huff, 2695 Highway 43 South, Brandon, Mississippi. Thank you for giving. I sincerely appreciate it. I'm here this morning mainly speaking as a 4-H volunteer, a concerned parent, and an owner of a small. You have heard defenses of keeping the pavilion from an aspect of the economic, the tangible, the measurable aspects. My passion and focus today to the intangibles, the immeasurables, the softer side of the building, and what it provides for our children and our young people. Yes, Deborah touched on some of that I'm saying, but I think I have a little different twist. These youth are involved in 4-H and FFA, future farmers of America, to fund their college education. Many of these children get their start at 8 years of age, and they are working for 10 to 11 years to earn premiums and awards. Thank you to the Board of Supervisors for your part in providing some of these premiums to these kids. We greatly appreciate it, and these kids do too. This helps us as parents, economy trying to send our kids. We're teaching our children the values to get out there and work their projects. And as they're working their projects on a daily basis, they are earning those, supporting them and showing them this is what happens in life. This is a life lesson. That is shaping the future citizens that will be the leaders in earning responsibility as they're working every day to take care of these livestock. Perseverance. You've got to keep going when the going gets tough. In a winter like we just had, they can't lay down in the sleet and the freezing rain and hay cows and take care of goats and milk goats. That goes into our local economy. Stewardship. They're learning how to take care of, to provide for all the citizens. Honesty. They're learning to be honest in all of their endeavors. And let me just ask you, aren't these the qualities and those that will be leading us in the future? I think so. Now, I personally know, I can get personal, I personally know many young people that are ships. I could speak to several. Two that come to mind right now are Jessica and Rachel Wilson. One of them is in vet school and the other is in pre-vet and has been accepted to early start all of their lives in exhibiting livestock in that pavilion, and they are passionate. It's also a training ground in preparation for competitions on a national. People may not realize that. But these children are going to regional 4-H shows all over the country, national breed shows for livestock and horses, national 4-H conference in Wisconsin, the 4-H National Congress in Atlanta, Georgia, 4-H Western Nationals at the Denver Stock Show. What are these children doing? They're representing Rankin County. They're competing in speech, debate. I personally have a son that is doing that. Yes, he was raised for 11 years showing dairy and horses in this county, the state level, and the national level. But what is he doing with that? He used that to become a speaker. Just agriculture. Yes, agriculture is important, and yes, that is what it does. But I'd like for you to broaden your horizons just a little bit and to see that there are other connections that these children are getting. Come from all parts of the county to make up these teams that I have coached. This is the only facility in which we can come together to conduct horse and livestock judging clinics, presentations in their future, as they are standing before a panel and giving their set of reasons for why they placed those 4 horses in front of them and ranking them in order. Gentlemen, that is preparators and have to answer for why they recommend a decision to be made, and they have to defend it. There's a connection. Showmanship clinics, fitting clinics, grooming clinics, central location in which all of these kids can come together and people can bring on a volunteer basis their livestock and horses to help us accomplish these goals in training these children in sports, or has the athletic abilities to compete in sports. However, they might excel at horsemanship and raising and showing livestock. However, I believe we can happily. To close, by directing your attention to investing in the future of agriculture. Just think about FFA, future farmers. I think we as a county would be grievously mistaken for not investing in the future of agriculture in this county. We must have farmers. We all must eat. That is a fact. These children are developing businesses from raising these livestock, developing value-added products, and those are going out into the local economy, and we're paying taxes on that. I'd like to say that we cannot lay down and allow the future of agriculture to go by the wayside and to do away with the small farmer, the local family farm, and give completely way to big ag. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mark Huff.
As they tell us in some of the meetings, be brief, brother, be brief. We'll be with just a second. These ladies did an excellent job. I just wanted to represent hey, there is males out here that can speak. And my son was going to speak, but, you know, many reasons I couldn't let him come up here. So just a couple of things. I'm representing the Rankin County Livestock Association, all the species. Everybody's interested in keeping him to come to the city of Brandon from all parts of the county. A lot of amenities here that we don't have in the other sections. And we just ask you as our officials to protect us. I mean, got less people out. You can look at the maps, red and blue on a nationwide level. It's the same thing as what's happening right here. We ask y'all to protect us, protect your county folks out in the rural areas. We need this facility.
All right, this time we have Miss Shelby Cotton.
That way we can see you.
There you go.
Good morning. My name is Shelby Cotton. I'm 11 years old. Rather than going to Birmingham, Alabama with my 5th grade class this morning, I'm here on behalf of hundreds of other multi-purpose arena. This center is very well known to equestrians like me. I have been riding for 7 years and have known the roads to the Rankin County Arena since I was 7 years old. I have been riding and competing at the Rankin. Thousands of people depend on this arena to help achieve their hopes, dreams, and goals from childhood and even as adults. If the ability to ride our horses at this arena is taken away, so are our hopes, dreams, and goals. I'm sure y'all have all heard others who use this arena on a regular basis. I do not have an arena at home to practice in. We depend on the Rankin County Multi-Purpose Arena to practice our sport so we can one day get a college rodeo scholarship, level rodeo, make a career out of rodeo, or whatever the dream may be. If you were to look on my calendar, I will compete in at least one rodeo and sometimes 2 or 3 almost every week to support my many friends I have made at the shows who are doing what they love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, is there anyone else on this behalf of keeping the arena the way it is? Do we have any more spokesmen on that part? That's okay. So let's see, I do have a listing here. I guess it looks like either Ryan Herndon or Mr. Palomo, whichever one wants. Mr. Martin Palomo.
That's correct. All right. That works.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, this is a very emotionally charged meeting, which should be. Yes, Martin Palomo, 128 Sarah Fox Drive, Brandon 39047. I also live in the county, but take advantage of everything that Rankin County has to offer. I hate to by even talking about taking away these children's equestrian facilities, and that's not at all what my purpose is up here to talk about today, or find a way that we can all work together. So I'm a numbers guy. I know most of you guys don't know me. My career has been in finance and economics. I'm an investment officer, so I look at things negative to say about the facility. That's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is how can we help grow the economy in Rankin County? Not just in Brandon, but there's not a facility in central Mississippi that can host what the potential is for this facility to host. They have them in Memphis, in Birmingham, New Orleans, and I know this because I coach a competitive soccer team. A competitive tournament spread out over 2 weekends because they have so many teams competing, boys and girls. So I'm just gonna share a few numbers, personal numbers with you guys from what we've experienced just from my team. Most rich concentration of athletes and scholars that I know of in this area, whether it's equestrian athletes, whether it's traditional athletes. Every time my team and teams like mine go to competition in the region, and we're playing teams from Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, we show up and we show out. And that's a huge statement. And to cap our growth is insane. Let's keep growing. Let's continue to make Rankin County a place where folks want to come to. We've already started doing that with has been huge and would be a huge attractor as well for teams coming here. So I'm just going to talk about the economics real quick. So we traveled to 4 tournaments, regional tournaments this year. We've played 4 local tournaments. If you had a team of 100 teams with 12 to 15 players on each team, I mean the numbers don't lie. Realistically, we're looking at anywhere between 15 to Rankin County by having a facility that has the capacity to host these things. Right now, we just don't have it. So that money is going other places. Jackson tries to do it, Madison tries to do it, but they don't have the facilities either. Hotel rooms, each family generally spends about $300 to $400 a weekend in food and eating out. I mean, generally they don't bring their groceries with them. They don't cook in their hotel room, so they're having to spend that money they're kids. So kids don't want to sit in hotel room. My son doesn't want to sit in a hotel room. So guess what we do when we go to Birmingham, Memphis, New Orleans? We go play laser tag. We go ride go-karts. We go do things that hotel rooms is not what young boys and girls like to do. They like to be active. They like being involved in sports, whether it's riding horses, playing soccer, baseball, fast pitch softball. Another thing, I did some number crunching on my own because I'm a numbers dude. Athletics, soccer, let me talk about soccer specifically because that's where I have the most experience. This is a year, and there's indoor seasons. So there's a facility in Flowood that is run by a Christian organization. I'm sure you guys can derive who that is. They make a killing on their indoor soccer facilities. They charge $600. So this is children and adults. One of the things that we've talked about is the impact of the children. but this also has huge impacts for adults. The millennials, my generation, generation that sits around, I still am actively involved in adult sports, and there is revenue for the county to be had on that. So I did just a little bit of number crunching for the winter and summer sessions that participate in ages going from 7 all the way up to 18. For a 10-week session, on average, you're going to make somewhere between $30,000 and $45,000 a season. With the adults playing, adults or not, when the kids are playing outdoor soccer, the adults play on the indoor facilities. That's going to draw, again, another $600 per team in registration. They have 2 to 3 10-week sessions per year. So put all of that together for you. That is positive net cash flows each year just on indoor soccer facilities between $115,000 and $153,000 per year. That's money in our pocket. That's just thinking big here, and I like the direction that our mayor has taken this. That the Board of Supervisors is looking. Hey, we're looking to how can we make this better? How can we make Rankin County a destination play vacation? But I do want to go to Memphis. I don't mind going to Birmingham. I love going to Destin and Orange Beach. Why can we not have the ability to attract those type of tournaments and those type of things strategically? Or Rankin County by itself is strategically located between major crosshairs, coming up from Florida up from 49, the crossroads of Atlanta to Dallas on 20s, and New Orleans, Memphis on 55. It makes, and why should we not be the ones to capture on it? Because if we don't, somebody's going to. Madison has the money. We know it. I grew up from Madison. I'm a native Madison Countyan that has moved to Rankin County to do it. They could. They don't have the land to do it. We do. We do. We have the opportunities in front of us to be one of the greatest counties that exists in central Mississippi. A lot is going to flow back out to our schools too, right? And at the end of the day, all of these athletics, whether it's riding horses, raising livestock, playing soccer, we're all trying to develop leaders here, or baseball, or softball. But what they do is they get skills that teach them about life, how to interact with your neighbors, how to work together, how to listen and take instructions, and you not have to be functionally. What happens with team building sports is that those traits get built in, as the kids are having fun. So it's not this boring rules-based, you have to follow the rules. And those kids will be the leaders of tomorrow. They will be the next Rankin County Board of Supervisors, the next Mayor Lee, the next governor of Mississippi, and so on and so forth. So I'm not advocating, but what I am advocating for is that we do look at the numbers. We look at the economies of scale. We look at a facility that could bring in 15 to 25 million. Let's be super conservative. Let's say it only brings in 10 million for Rankin County, an extra $10 million a year. So just a consideration, let's look at these things. Let's be black and white. Let's compare apples to apples. If there's a way that we can all work together, man, I high-five opinions and still find a way to work together. But let's look at the numbers because this is a very emotionally charged issue. Both sides can argue very emotionally on which side is right, and neither side is wrong. Both sides are.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay, at this time we have Mr. Ryan Herndon.
I don't have anything prepared.
We just need you to state where you're from, your address.
Well, yes, sir. I'm from Brandon, Mississippi, a lifelong resident of Rankin County. I'm glad I didn't have to follow the little girl. I mean, that was, I kind of pointed to him and said, you go. So,
yeah, I understand.
What I want to talk is kind of the journey. I want everybody to understand Brandon Now, which is an economic development organization in Brandon to spur growth. I'm also president of the Brandon High School Booster Club, known as the B Club, that funds all of our athletics. I guess where I want to come from is mainly neighbor. I mean, I understand coexist. What this is 2 years ago we started growth with the 2%. The mayor had town hall meetings and asked the people, which direction do you want to take? The 2% was designed for athletic purposes. It was a way for the government, for the state government to give the cities a way to control money to spur growth and impact around in their city. Well, KIT was derived to be a central location for the park, But what better location could I mean, Marquette has been a 20-year industrial park that it's really been stagnant. So I think it's a great location. We'll talk about that first. Great centralized location. That's been it's between two interstates. I think it's ideal. It's got all the infrastructure already. The water, the sewer, where if you had to go out and further infrastructures, and to put them in place. So we had the 2% referendum. It passed by 75% in the city and said, this is the plan we want to take. And it was a good voter turnout. It was actually more voter turnout for the 2% referendum than it was for the last city election. So everybody the wheels start turning in motion, and city starts trying to find a plan for the parks. Well, it's a good option. It's again, it's been empty for 20 years, and what this will spur is development for the Pearl, Flowwood. The economic impact and Brandon's had studies done to see what, with this impact studies done to see what this is going to do. And the numbers an area economic impact that's where we live. I mean, that's huge. We're talking hundreds versus thousands and thousands versus millions as far, let me go back to me saying I want to talk to as a neighbor to these people, because I know a lot of them, they're fine people, and they're passionate. I mean, they have been extremely loud. Then, as much as y'all are, we'd be completely better off. But, so as a citizen of Rankin County, what I'm for is, I don't believe that the arena will work logistically with the park and how it's proposed. But I do want them to have an arena and a place to ride and a place that they're proud of, and then everybody is taken care of in this county. And that's really all I've got to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. This time we have Mayor. How many more minutes we got for him? 2 minutes?
Got about 12 minutes.
I'm going to use a minute of that time to put that down. With your permission, sir?
Yes, sir.
Everybody's been sitting here for an hour. Anybody want to stand up? Everybody good? Okay, we'll get started then. I've got a packet of information here. Butch Lee, 129 Richmond Drive, Brandon, Mississippi, 39042, 49. I don't like to speak to people. I really want to address 3 points, generally. I don't have it's going to come from the heart. I don't have a speech I'm going to read or anything like that. I'd like to talk about 3 points. Integrity. Those 3 points are things I want to leave here today on that. So, with the board's permission, if it's all right, I'd rather be looking this way. I don't mean to turn my back to you. Don't mean any disrespect. But I'd rather be addressing these folks out here.
That's fine. Take the mic with you going.
Is that better? Everybody hear me all right? Been a lot of conversation about taking our horse barn away. I don't know where you get that. I'm kind of baffled by all that. Other than innuendo and room and over here, and you told it and went around the room, it'd be totally different before it went out the door. The whole conversation began, to my recollection, 2 years ago. 2 years ago. It began when one night and laid out the plans for the safe building. And there was conversation about that time of, if they do this, might the city take this over and run this in case of a disaster or something? And, we're going somewhere in that conversation. It was, well, we've got blighted property out here. We've got the old cement plant. We've got a horse barn that, is becoming in a state of disrepair, whether you believe it or not. And I'll address that with the board later. I was a board member then, and I remember that. So when I decided to run for mayor, began to talk to people. One of those people was Noel Daniels. And Noel said, please see if you can do something with the horse barn. Now, developed to me is listening to people that are much more knowledgeable than I, like Leland Speed, very, strong promoter of clean streets. I've told people this 1,000 times. If you're a businessman driving from Dallas to Atlanta or rolled up fences, it just looks horrible. We got 16 sections downtown, and we're going to work on that too. But we need to clean up the way we look to the world if we're going to be any better. Now, this is Brandon. We're in the county seat, your county seat. And about Brandon is you are about what you want to do. And I hope you don't hold that against me. So, following up with integrity, again, go back 2 years ago. So this was 8 plans about something we could do with baseball fields to be seen from the interstate. Some of you probably seen those drawings. They were just preliminary drawings, conceptual things that I didn't know if it'd work or not, and we weren't going to spend any money on engineering to find out 18 months ago. So this was last October. Went into his office, shared that with him, and we talked for 45 minutes to an hour just about Pearl and Brandon and cleaning up the interstate and what we're going to do. Had a couple of nuisance properties, you know, and we've got an old cement plant and some other property that the city looks at and kind of wants to kind of do the same thing on there, you know. So we've got mutual problems. They're our problems. So to work through those, again, that's 18 months ago. So I know Jay has known about something to do with the city and county for over a year. You know, Jared and I were at a meeting. He said, y'all gonna be able to take over the horse barn? You know, and the thought process was take it over and keep it as a horse barn. Now, I had a meeting last week, and, you know, I kind of got fried for that, and I tried to do something behind closed doors. It's just, we don't know. It's just now evolving. It's a little study that I'm gonna leave, and by the way, I have some more of these. Anybody wants one, I've got some more in the truck out there. This was just completed in February with Ohio. We contracted with somebody to come down here because we didn't trust our own eyes. We wanted somebody to go around and evaluate central Mississippi, evaluate all of Mississippi, surrounding states, to determine the course of 2% money is the food and beverage money that we get out of restaurants and hamburger stands and all that kind of stuff. So, looks like it's going to be a nice little stream of revenue, and we want to figure out, we wanted somebody's outside eyes that were much more experienced than I to evaluate that. Mr. Jack Hughes was a University of Florida instructor. He came up here in December and took a bunch of raw data, went back home, and he died the first week of January. So his counterpart, Mr. Don Schumacher, flew down here in January and said, we got to finish this. And I said, yes, we got to finish this. So we finished it and got it to us in February. And it's on our website now, and I've got to those numbers. Now, there's another study in here, and I've got all these for the board. There's another study in here that we commissioned with the Central Mississippi Planning and Development District, and they kind of mirror. So we've got somebody that taught at Clemson. We really didn't trust that. We wanted to get somebody else's eyes, and they kind of say the same thing. So it's been studied. Then you fast forward to the last few weeks. So we began to bounce around, okay, what can we do and what can't do? So we come up with some ideas. You know, it's been this back and forth between the county and the city. I'm not the only person they've spoken to at the city about this. What can we do? What can we do? What can we do? The city is this other night, and it didn't come out so well, I don't guess, because it wasn't well received. But the reason why is nobody in Brandon has horses. So you're asking the city of Brandon to take its tax money. Well, I mean, you got to, you know, most people, 22,000 people, I don't know how many horses are inside the city of Brandon. You know, I just don't. I know you find that humorous, huh? But, you know, so that's the reality. No, we don't need to do that. So I say, okay, I agree. So there's got to be some other ideas. Where are we going to go? And that's what the last 5 weeks have been, is just ideas, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's what came out of that meeting. And I showed somebody some slides. I was like, this. So on the integrity side, you need to understand that this is not some subversive, covert thing that's going on, and nothing's going to be taken away from you. I've said on behalf of the city of Brandon, we got one board member in here, so over here, there he is, on behalf of our board, and that's not a good thing to do, is the board.
No.
And
Hey, Mayor.
I'll speak on their behalf too.
Mayor,
you know, yes,
I do want to let you know you got 5 minutes to wrap it up. So.
Wrap it up. That horse barn's not going anywhere. You're going to have a place, so that's, I hear you. Back to you.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Back to your comment real quick, and I'm going to turn around and face you. Back to your comment about going around to other cities and asking payment on that fire station out there. 15 years, the citizens of Brandon have been paying on that. Water well, streets, water lines, sewer lines, lights. The citizens inside the city pay all that. Now, that's just a little bit of difference.
But that's the city fire.
Now, wait just a second, guys. Let him talk like he let y'all talk. So I'm telling you, we've got to keep this in order, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
How much time do I have? Economics of that are going to be spoken to these studies that I have here. You know, weekend before last, we had 88 teams in Brandon playing baseball. If you do the math and just say $200 at a minimum per family, you get to with over 800. You know, it's just all of a sudden you start running the numbers and it gets big. And then when you add travel teams to that, Baton Rouge, for instance, has an estimate that they use that says $500 per participant that they spend in a local community. Now, last thing I want to say is funding, real quick. This will be my last point. I won't elaborate on it too long. You know, citizens, I can't go to the citizens of Brandon and justify spending money for people inside the city have that for recreation. It just won't work. They look at us like we were, especially when we get the numbers that we've lost money over here and that type of thing. So I'm going to use some of the numbers at both assumptions. I'm going to say somewhere between his number of $140,000 and her number of $60,000. Okay, I said I was going to average it. Okay, I'm going to say $100,000. Let's just say it takes 100. Let's say you've got 100 4-H kids. Is that anywhere close to accurate? Okay, let's just say we got 100 4-H kids, and you're funding recreation for the recreation at the county level. So in that sense, if you're spending $100,000 on 100 kids, you're basically subsidizing recreation at $1,000 a child. And I'm all about children too, because children that live in the county play in the city in those tournaments just like kids in the city do. So if you're going to be subsidizing kids, then on behalf of the citizens of Brandon, we're going to ask that you subsidize all the kids at the same level. Y'all want to subsidize recreation in Brandon for horse riding. Jared, you want to go to Florence and Richland and ask all those people if they want to subsidize horse riding in Brandon? You know, that's kind of where we're at. Brandon doesn't want to do anything with that building unless those folks have somewhere as good or better to go. Okay? I want to say that point blank. And I want to thank you for your time. Okay?
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, let's wrap up here. Craig, I guess you want me to speak on behalf of this. As everyone realizes, we do only have 4 supervisors present today. We have one that's out ill today. So we will not be taking a vote today, but I will let Craig Slay kind of elaborate.
Right. Just to accommodate the interest about this particular issue, obviously the position, as I appreciate it, of the board is that this is the kind of issue that all 5 supervisors need to be here to deliberate about. There's nothing on the agenda today with respect to the multipurpose facility. All that has occurred here are part of public comment, which is not an agenda item specifically. So there is nothing on the agenda by which the board is prepared to make any or render any decision. Again, the board has the discretion to determine its own agenda. My understanding is that before this board makes a decision about the multipurpose facility, and the intention is to give some period of notice, I would hope that it would be around at least 10 days notice, that before the board addresses it, we will get word. Okay?
Right. What I'd like, and what he's saying there is how are we going to get that information out to you. If you would, before you leave, and I know the ladies up front are probably going to kill me, to at least give a phone number and an address so that each of you can be notified. Because I know, you know, what you're thinking is, well, if it's in the newspaper, I might miss it. But if you're here, something stating that in 10 days, we plan on at least having this on the agenda, that way there's no way that you can miss it. So, again, like I said, I appreciate everyone coming to a very passionate decision on each side, and means a lot to everyone, every single one of us up here. I'm speaking on behalf of the board for each of us. I know some of you have. So it's very passionate to us, and we don't take this lightly, but we do want to make sure that each and every one of you do know that we are not going to do anything without allowing one day whichever way we go.
Greg, what I would suggest, I'm going to go out into the hall.
Okay.
And that way, anyone who wants notice, I have a name, email, and phone. And so this sheet of paper wants the notice, they can go ahead and sign on the sheet. This will be the sheet that we use.
I'd like to say something. I'd like to say something. We've sat here and listened, and one thing that I think I want to make clear is that I think I can speak for the board, supports Brandon's dream and supports the economic development growth that it will bring, supports it completely. And those numbers are so impressive that I guess my thing is, if it's that strong, then we ought to be able to work together where we could still have this same facility. My recollection was that we were going to operate it as a horse facility, and that's correct. I want to make that clear. But I guess with the numbers that I'm hearing, people are going to ask is, why can't you move on forward? We're talking about other land, move on forward, build a facility like you want. We all think it's a great idea. I just think we need to figure out a way to work together to have what they have as well as what you have. And like I said, I want you to understand, I support great, but also support what these people want. And I am I guess a student from 4-H as well as FFA, and run the athletic program, so I'm very familiar with every aspect of this. So anyway, I just wanted that clarified. I didn't want it to look like it's two sides here pushing one. We all want to work together. So.
All right. Ms. Tucker, I just did want to, I at least wanted to, I know you asked me a question about one of the line items. You come out of the blue.
Oh, sure I do.
Okay, well, needless to say, there's so many in there. I mean, you kind of threw me out of the loop exactly what that line item would be. If I had that in front of me, I could tell you exactly, but didn't want you to think that I'm not to every one of us in Rankin County and for you guys. So with all that being said, I mean, you're more than welcome to stay if you want to, but if you got other places you want to go, please feel free if you want to stay. Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
Yes, there's some errands.
Thank y'all.
Doug Carter. The 4-H guy was state extension guy. I thought he'd been there. I don't see where, I mean, I would have thought that he would have been doing everything he could to try to keep it, you know?
I got to be neutral right now, but when the
I'll see him back.
I might need to go. Thank you.
Hello, Colonel. Good to see you.
Yes, sir. Good to see you there, Mr. Taylor.
Have a wedding, I believe I read. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Good to see you. Hey, Mr. Taylor. How in the world are you, sir? Good to see you. Yes, sir. Always a pleasure to see you. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Really? I'm gonna run the restaurant.
Mama.
I think Jared's showing his hand too much. You hit him. I think I'll run out there and hit him with a bunch of big old hugs. I don't know where I'm at.
No, sometimes you have to make sure it's like this. I'm like, you write everything down. You tell how long you've been on. Well, that's all right. Thank you. I called you. You have some heat now.
Another one?
406. Yeah.
All right.
You drove by there today, Hey. Well, see this operation. We got 3 graduating out there tonight. So, he was gonna go. He's gonna sit Tommy up by himself. Yeah, he could have gotten hostile.
I've talked to the new owner, so you're fine. You weren't on that. I took you off, but I'm dealing with him.
You noticed she could not say that.
No.
That's what I can call it.
Yeah, but after that, you know, he got
Are we ready to get started back?
I'm hoping so.
Yeah, we haven't gotten very far down the list.
There. Yeah, but I cut you to 7. Are we still rolling? All right. Number, let's see, 6, sir. Back again, discussion of amendment to the Rankin County Transit Business Sales.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes.
This is a discussion item only, gentlemen. Currently, Rankin County currently operates with an ordinance that regulates transient business sales. This is our transit vendor ordinance, is oftentimes how we refer to it. You got a process where we license and somewhat regulate vendors who make door-to-door sales calls, and what we try to do is like it to be regulated to the extent that we know who these people are, where they come from, et cetera, et cetera. So we have a process that we go through. I'm going to read from Section 3 of our current transient vendor ordinance, which, by the way, has 4. There have been no updates or amendments to the ordinance since that time. We allow the following individuals or organizations to be exempt from the provisions of the ordinance: religious organizations and your Rotaries, and students currently enrolled in public, private, or homeschool colleges or universities. Those are the 3 exemptions that we allow. That means that those folks do not have to secure a license. They don't pay. They don't fill out an application. They do not have to conform to the daylight time of sale provisions, p.m. to 5 p.m. A request has been made by one of our volunteer fire departments for permission to be treated as an exempt organization under this ordinance, so that, because they have folks that work full-time jobs, when they are trying to raise support for their department from the area where their response area is defined, they PM time limit, and they would like to be exempt from the standpoint of not being required to fill out an application and pay for a license, but also to be able to conduct their it could easily be added as an exempt organization under our ordinance to allow our Rankin County volunteer fire departments to be exempt under the ordinance.
Right.
That's what.
Well, they actually came to me and said that they do a lot of them will do photography or something like that, you know, for fundraisers, because they don't really get funded a lot and anything like that. So sometimes they'll have a letter to go along with, say, a photographer that maybe want to do a family picture or something like that. A lot of times, that due to the constraints, and even some of the firemen themselves actually go to the house, with these people. So it's not like that they would just send them out there in the, stamp of approval along with those volunteer fire departments, to be able to have funds to come back into their fire departments.
So the fire volunteers are going in house to house?
It's one piece of it, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, they
Never heard
sell.
of that.
Do what now?
Never heard of that.
Yeah, there's several out there that do the same thing, so.
Volunteer fire departments sponsor, I mean.
Yep, to help to, instead of coming to the county and asking for funds from us, so they have to try to scrape and,
I know about them raising money, I just never heard of them. I've not heard of the
option that they had brought to me. Of course, they do chicken dinners, stuff like that.
right.
And so there are all kind of different things
So
that they
we
do.
gotta give them permission to go door to door?
Right. We do as
Because they are subject to the transient vendor ordinance. It relates to business.
What's the difference in the Girl Scouts going around?
Well, because the Girl Scouts is a recognized civic organization, and they're already exempt under the ordinance.
And the kids coming around sitting
Completely
with
exempt under the ordinance.
Yeah,
See, I bought a Boston butt the other night.
Exactly, I did too. So what he's saying is, our own volunteering, could we look at exempting them?
They don't qualify as a civic organization,
Right.
clearly. You don't just walk in and say, I'm now a part of your fire department. They have to be trained, they have to be qualified parameters in order to be a part of that department. So they don't qualify as a civic club. They're not a religious organization, at least not by design, and they're not a school. And so there's a number of departments. A suggestion could be that even though we could allow for an exemption, there are plenty of opportunities for the board to set some guidelines about their qualification as an exemption, perhaps instead of just saying that they are completely exempt.
Right.
Some appropriate, as they can go beyond 5 o'clock, but they don't need to be beyond 7 o'clock.
Right.
And we can say they are exempt for the purpose of not having to pay the $500 licensing fee. That would be appropriate. But for the purpose of the rest of the ordinance, it would be exactly as any other organization would be.
Well, I mean, they went, one of them, local in Florence, is doing the high school rodeo. They're going around selling tickets. Technically, they're violating something by doing that?
No, sir. The high school rodeo is going to qualify. If they were selling that for the purpose of their organization,
Yeah,
Jared, then
they're raising,
it's a
it'll be a
problem.
fundraiser for them too, yeah.
And that's
outside the system.
And that's really kind of odd, that we wouldn't,
Think about it.
as a county, have volunteer fire departments. I don't think most people realize the asset we do have out there.
Yeah, I think what I understand about this is you're sending out a third-party organization,
Right.
quote, on their behalf.
Yeah, then we need to have
That's
some
probably
perimeters.
problematic.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
There won't be
I would-
agents representing.
Right.
That's right.
I think it
That's
needs
right.
to be restricted to
Exactly.
the actual conducting the vendor activity.
Right.
I'm fine with that. You all right with that?
Yeah, because if you don't do it that way, you could run into real problems. Somebody just saying,
Yeah.
picking up on
I'm
that
out
and
here
said, I'm out here
selling
volunteer
steaks
fire
for the Fire
department.
department, yes.
Right.
Well, that Shell Oil Road was what they did. What they would like to have is basically a form that would go along with that, and I'm just saying that in theory, that went from Shell Oil Fire Department. So, I mean, there may be some parameters. I know, like I said, I want to bring this forth. That's one of my volunteer fire chiefs that spends a lot of money,
Since there's nothing with respect to action on this, what I would suggest, we've got a little time, either before Monday or on the 15th, that we can put together maybe a draft
right,
of an exemption, some exemption language that could be considered,
okay,
and then talk further about that. I'll try to have that prepared for Monday,
Okay.
Mr. President, that day, and we'll go from there.
okay, thank you. Got the review of the items for April 7th.
Just focusing on my items, I think that's what the intent was. Just so
Okay.
here.
All right. So We got Mr. J.K. Stringer, County Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Back up under the review for items April 7th. Just been brought to our attention an agenda for April the 7th, which is actually the third item, and I'll read it to you. It says, would be for the approval to authorize Ken McBroom and Eddie Thompson to sign purchase requisitions for the center. They've asked if maybe we could take that out, the consent agenda for Tuesday. Yes, and put it on today's agenda, add it to today's agenda, because they're already in those today. So I would recommend that we add that item to the agenda and then take it up for approval today if the board is so disposed.
Right. Motion by Mr. Morrison.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bishop. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve this item? Motion by Mr. Bishop.
You're going to approve it, don't you?
Second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Item under my section, it's another one of those that we need to do today rather than wait till next week just because of the timing, is for our new employee down at the EOC on April the 4th through the 6th, and then April the 25th through the 27th.
Motion approved.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, to approve this item.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrison.
It was already on there, man.
Yeah.
I'm
Already
sorry.
on
Today's agenda.
Already
Yeah.
approved.
I'm thinking it was on the consent too.
No.
Got a
Just so
second.
you know,
Who'd I get a second from?
Me.
Mr. Johnson. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
The next item, I'm sure that there will be more discussion in the future. It has to do with the construction of the new Chancery Court. We went out with a request for qualification, your resume type of a deal. There were no resources or anything else involved. It was really kind of a give us an idea if you're interested in participating in this. And we got 11 responses. And I have a list of those people who responded here, and we'll make sure that we get these in the minutes. Ergon Properties, JH and CBRE, which is a commercial real estate company. Benchmark Construction, Michael Harrell, Thrash Commercial Contractors, Wire and Protect, and Cook Douglas Farm. We received interest from them, which we'll continue to look at them and evaluate. But what is it we want to do?
what we're going to build.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are they going to build?
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We need to start that discussion. This is where we go out and say, whatever we decide to do, we're going to need a professional to help us through the process, and even through the process on what we want to do. To give Rankin County a third chancery judge failed, or did not pass. So we will not get a third judge at least until next year.
That changes the whole concept.
And that's what I'm talking about. And if you remember, the other thing that we were talking about, why it's not quite that simple, the other thing we're talking about, we also are looking at, what do we do with the old courthouse, the Justice Court area. So though that is a discussion we need to have. A step, maybe not even as part of the project, but as a first, building project itself, but as the first step, we need to think about, and I'm not asking for the authority to do that today, in here that can give us a plan and some ideas on what it is we want to do, and then how we would go about doing it. For example, what would we want to put in the Chancery Court building? Just the court, the Chancery Clerk, the Chancery Clerk's land records. If you start moving the Chancery Clerk land records, you're with the tax assessor and tax collector with that. You can make a real good argument that all three of those need to be together like they are now here.
Yeah, grows fast.
Yes, and look at misdemeanor facility where Justice Court where those two need to be pretty close to each other. You don't want to move them too far away from the jail. I think we need an overall just plan, for the lack of a better word, on what it is we want to do. Then we can go back and start taking a look at the projects one at a time, and any of them. But I don't think we have the information we need right now to make that decision.
I don't think we can hire someone that can come in and tell us that we need to do this. I think it's.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear everything.
I don't believe we can hire someone that's gonna come in and say that we need to move our Chancery Clerk's office over here, or we need to build another Justice Court facility.
Oh, I think you're absolutely correct. Come in and give us some advice, and someone who can say, here are the things you ought to be considering. Right, that's what I'm talking.
Mr. Stringer, to take that task of deciding and designing whatever it is we decide to build, they're in all likelihood going to assessor and the justice court judges and find out what their needs and space requirements are. I think, and I'm asking this as a come up with a site, and would it be premature for us to authorize county engineer to conduct soil borings on things that we're kicking around, because of the soil borings could be eliminated if that work was done now. But we're gonna have to, I mean, first thing we gotta decide is where we're gonna put it.
We got a bit of a chicken and an egg situation, I think, Mr. Johnson. We haven't decided exactly what we want yet. Besides, rather than where we're gonna put it, we haven't really decided. And that's what I'm talking about. Let's get a plan, a strategic plan for facilities, for the lack of a better word, that says, here's what we want. Here would be about setting the programs to achieve those goals. What do we want?
Is there any interest still in that the church facility we looked at one time? Is that?
I believe it's still out there, if I'm not mistaken. Is that not right, Craig? As far as the church facility on
East Campus.
Yeah.
I know no reason why that wouldn't be. Wow.
Depend on for what?
Well, I guess right. What all? It depends on what all we're trying to put in there.
Well, that goes back to what who formulate with an expert on what we actually need and what we want. I mean,
the expert's going to ask you, are you going to want to put the what all you want to put in it? I mean, he's and the tax collector and all that. He's not going to say you need to put that in there. He's going to say, do you want to build a building that they can house all of them? What all do you want to put in it? He's not going to be able to say you need to do that.
On how much square footage and everything else that goes along with all that.
Yeah, but he's got to know what you're going to put in there. We need to. I mean, I don't know. Is it how important is it that they all be grouped together?
We've got to have that discussion. Obviously, we've had informal discussions about it. But I think that we've got now to move from the informal process into the more formal. I'm going to put a committee together to help get us to this, but I'm not ready to go out and recommend that we build a building yet.
Right.
Because I'm not sure what we want to build and what we want to put in it. Once we determine that, then we'd start taking a look at the potential sites and say the point, do we want to move forward or not? And of course, we're just making that decision through each step.
I bet some of our sites are getting limited now.
Yeah. But, do we have needs? We have needs. But we don't want to do something that we wish X year, 10, 20 years.
Right.
Well, that kind of goes along with Brandon. I bet they're saying that they wish that a lot of things in the past hadn't been taking place, but that's the reason why I've kind of said all along we kind of need to work in hand. It is the county seat, so they have a master plan too, so I think that we need to take in account of everything. So we just don't put a building somewhere and then
Sure.
3 years down the road, say, "Ooh, man, wish I hadn't put it there."
Well, accommodate some for the future.
Right.
I mean, it's a biggie, but the fact that we don't have we weren't given the third chancellor, that makes a big difference too.
But that bill is gonna come back next year.
Yeah.
And it is, hey, we thought it was gonna pass this
I know.
year, got caught up in the appropriation process. Next year will be what was in the bill that failed. The governor has pulled out and put into a special session within the session. And for the assistant district attorneys, there's a reasonable chance
Right.
that it will pass in the future, that we will sometime in the future get the third chancellor. And that might be a good thing, because we didn't have a place to put him anyhow.
Well, it's around, and it's going to be something that we're going to have to face sooner or later. Even with justice court facility, all the things you're talking about. I mean, we know that. It's just, I guess it's such a chancery building, and then we realize, how it's grown tremendously now.
Yeah. So.
Well, I dare say that every member of this board at some point has been confronted, the courts and the land records need to be under the same roof.
Yeah.
And also that if you're gonna move them, you need to move the assessor building. So I think that needs to be in the scope of the project. And the location, I think it's important that the justice court and the misdemeanor facility be near the existing jail. So I don't think the piece for all that.
No, that's correct.
So we need to look at multiple locations, and that's why I said site location. It might not be bad to start eliminating some
You're right. If you're going to have to split them, and you're probably right, then that does really help the situation as far as narrows down the you probably have to have. I guess, in what you're saying, why don't we find out then, okay, why don't we find out the amount of square footage, we need to know the amount of square footage would be needed for collector and tax assessor.
I agree.
And that's what,
and that
Kind of goes back full circle what I said
Yeah.
earlier. We
Well-
have to have somebody to be able to tell us that.
For direction on is how do we start that process? We can start, either way, it's gonna take somebody in here, professional in this, that can give us an outline to follow. And how do we start that process? And that's, and how would y'all like, would you like for us but would you like to get together a committee and joining in that? I'm asking for which, do you want me to come forward to you with a recommendation?
that's gonna do the
Person.
master plan.
For the person to do the master plan and what we want the master plan to give us.
I think that's kind of our job, isn't it? That's
Well,
what we're elected
that's
to
what
do.
I'm asking. That's,
So I'd rather be responsible for that decision.
For
Selection
choosing
architect.
that person, yeah, I agree.
Okay.
But I don't know, why board go with land records? Why can't we leave it like it is now? 'Cause
I
we don't
think
have
that's a
land
legal
records here.
question. I'll defer to our attorney.
Yeah, I'll give you my
It's so
experience.
easy, you're going to let him answer it.
Yeah, Walter, I don't know that there's a statute that would say thou shalt have land records with court activity. But I'll give you the benefit of my experience around the state. Majority of the counties that have all of their chancery activity, the court, clerk, land records, that is all contained in one location.
And it's got,
But if we do that, then that does mean we have to move the other ones to go along with it.
Most of the other counties in the state that I'm speaking about, composing this majority, that have less activity in their land records than we have, certainly less activity in their tax collection. And so the comparison might break down on the basis of how large our county is and those activities being significantly greater than what we have here. So in other words, they can fit all of them that would dwarf every other building around it. So my suggestion as well, along with Colonel, is that because we already divided, Walter, what we need to know, I think, is what does the future hold for us in terms of the expected potential growth of our county? How does that translate and relate to tax collector activity? And does it make sense to put all of that together in one building when you realize that all of that activity is going to generate traffic and parking, a land footprint large enough to handle?
It should be easier if you didn't
That's why
have
we
to.
need to explore other possible site locations. And I would suggest Rankin First property, side of Highway 18. I'm told that the other side of Highway 18 is not part of the quarry, and that it wouldn't be as problematic for construction there. It's off of Crossgates, huh?
And it's free.
Well, I always like that word. Man, I certainly don't advocate going out
Well, there's
buying
certainly
property to
opportunity
build our
costs to go
buildings
with
on.
that
Well,
decision.
certainly.
Because if it goes to a county building, it's not going to be an industrial building, it's not going to be an economic development activity anymore. So, and of course, you're going to have issues that relate to what else gets located in that proximity. So free's not the right word, I would suggest. There would definitely be costs associated with it.
Not any cost that would be
No, not
associated with
direct
any
costs.
other property.
I'm giving you a voodoo cost.
I mean, I know that sounds like a drastic move, but let's face it, downtown, our campus cannot expand
Right.
much further than it is, that might offer the opportunity to provide ample parking, handicap accessibility, all the things that are lacking now.
Might be something whenever we hire the architect to come do a needs analysis for us, do the master plan, that they could take that in consideration. If we wanted to put one back there, and if so, how big, how tall would it be?
I don't think you put one back there.
I mean, but I think they can answer that question for us
Right.
pretty easy.
No, I think it's gonna have to be at an alternate
Right,
location, and the
right.
justice court and the
Right.
misdemeanor facility are gonna need to be downtown, and there's some logic that backs up that opinion,
Oh, I agree with you on that.
because it has to be near the jail.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Well, Hoopy, what, I know, just to talk about,
Yes.
discuss, what kind of time limits are we looking at, or you haven't, I mean, you putting any kind of?
There is
So,
no time limit.
I mean, what I'm saying is, since this, bill did get, I know we still wanna try to move forward to see exactly what, because we know that this county is gonna grow. So, I guess, from
I
my,
think-
and see, you know,
I would, you know, if I may, and throw this out. If I could sit down with a couple of them saying, okay, how do we want to approach this?
Right.
You know, and if you could just, y'all could tell me which ones you want me to sit down with.
Right.
On how we go about approaching this, because obviously we've got.
Right.
And then we can come forward, and the board then, at some point, can decide, yeah, here's the approach we want to take.
right.
So I would.
I like that idea a lot better.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're gonna, you know, we can sit here and talk about it all day. We've already talked about it for several months on it. I mean, I'm just.
Well, we hadn't really chanced it, but
Right.
this, you know, it's not
How
like
do
we've
you
been just
build
talking
something
about it.
that
It's
you
been-
don't know what your needs are?
Well, you said it right, though. We kind of need someone to come in and do a needs assessment. I mean, I think.
All right,
that's
so you're
where
gonna
it's
get-
headed.
I mean, how are we gonna go out and build for the future?
Well, I think the fact that we don't have a third chancellor really is insignificant. I think we need to go ahead and put enough room in there for a third chancellor, because at some point, it's coming.
It's coming.
But whether we got one or not, the Chancery Courts, as has been explained, Bill Waller, and, you know, the day they came and presented their case, the handicap accessibility and the whole thing, that is a dangerous situation in our Chancery, lack of space.
Right.
And I think that's something that, I mean, that need exists whether we get a third chancellor or not. And whether it happens next year or the year after, if we courtroom at some point when that third chancellor is granted.
Okay. And also, we are talking about more than Chancery Court. Let's not forget, in Justice Court, which is Justice Court, may be more inadequate right now than Chancery Court even.
With the law, with, yeah.
Yeah.
With the
So-
ADA and everything else going on.
Right.
And come to an agreement how we want to approach this. That's what my recommendation.
Right.
That's what I'm asking.
I think that's a good idea for you to sit down with a couple of us at a time, try to narrow the scope with, and in the next few weeks, maybe we can come back to at least getting closer to that tip.
Okay.
What do y'all think?
You know, there's no item.
Okay.
Just wanted to bring that up, let you know we had 11 responses, who they were, get that on the record.
Thank
you.
All right.
Could I just ask one question? Ken, do you have prisoners you have in the jail currently? I mean, I hate to put you on the spot, but
That's a heady question. Probably around 280.
280.
Misdemeanor?
Too much maxed out over there, right? So
there had been some discussion of building the misdemeanor facility in the old Steelplex building where the trustees.
Yeah, no, we had talked about it. I mean, just to say something quick.
Yes.
If he would get, like Mr. Hoopy and all of us, the administrative, one of our questions was, y'all gonna move everything in here? Because we had talked about the other day, if you're moving all the land records and all that, we could move our administrative part out of that misdemeanor jails.
right.
You know, so it's a whole big plan that
I think
guess
that
kinda
would.
need to just get together.
And so
Yeah.
I think the committee that we form needs to be more widespread input from all the
Certainly.
department heads and I know that presents its own set of challenges trying to come to a decision. But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't at least ask for their input and try to design something where everybody's looking into the future and we're trying to provide for the growth that is coming with crime and everything else that goes along with growth. So, does anybody agree with that?
I agree, Ken, but, you know, or whomever's helping do this is gonna have to have your all's input, and you're right, it's kinda like, we're gonna open up one bill, if we do this, we're gonna open up some space from every department. It's gonna be
See, I've not even thought about moving the administrative offices over here in this space that'll be vacated if all that.
Well, you know, once again, we get the chicken and the egg situation. And there's never been any thought that we would go forward with a recommendation that did not have the input from other
right.
people. I
Right.
mean, but else we're familiar with, how do you start the process? If you start the process without ever, y'all being involved up front, then somebody doing something that you don't know about. So I want to make sure that,
right.
and everybody feels like that they're a part of it, whether they're from within the county organization or the decision makers.
Yep.
Right.
And that's what we're saying.
All
Let's
right.
just all get involved in this, and if we get to the point to say, we don't want to do anything else, then we stop it. But, right now, all right, so, okay.
So you clear?
No, but we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it, how to approach
Right.
and how to come
Yeah.
back to
I'm willing to talk,
that
I'm
you
willing to
are
talk to you
aware-
about it. I'm willing to talk to you about it.
And that you are aware that we're doing this.
Right.
All right?
I think that's a
All
good
right.
idea.
All right. And any
No, I
questions
went
about
through it, I'm
that?
pretty good.
I got a question. I thought that we had worked it out where we didn't need to do a bid opening for offered.
No, we still have to bid out the chemicals.
It's on state contract, right?
No, it didn't get on state contract.
Oh, okay. All right. How many fire trucks we declaring surplus?
A couple, two, and there's something that we had discussed it's some time ago. I how-
The bids on the two you're referring to?
Yeah.
One of them was just surplus like a month ago, and it came from
Southwest.
Walters, I believe, and
Oh.
then the other one had come from the reservoir, and it was quite some time
The
ago.
one from Southwest.
That was a tanker.
Yeah, a little tank, yeah.
The, you know, unfortunately, fire trucks are something that you can question, but when
Have we replaced these already?
we're in the yes, and we're in the process, we've got one on order, it ought to be in pretty soon. We hopefully are gonna get a donation. Plans to, we've got a plan that's gonna rotate through all the fire trucks and keep the fire trucks current. Also the plan for hopefully the new fires worked out.
New fire station?
Well, the one down in Walters.
On Shallow Road.
Shallow Road.
Shallow Road. And the volunteer station.
The one that's been.
Fire station.
There we go.
And what on our budget worksheets?
Yep. Been on there for.
Yeah, for some time. Has to do with extending, you know, with the issue of
I
Brandon
knew we
extending out.
discussed it. I never saw where we budgeted money to do it, or voted to do it.
Yeah. We have not come forward and asking to expend that money yet, any money yet. But we are looking at what it would take to do it.
Remember, Jay, that mutual aid agreement that we weren't able to come to terms with.
Yeah.
And so as a result, those people's insurance premiums, service area and outside of the Walters, they're in the Walters district, but they're further than 5 miles from the Walters Fire Department. So a second satellite location, and they have people on this side of the district that are willing to participate. They just need a place to hang their turnout gear and a place to park a pumper.
You're not talking about a full-fledged fire.
No.
Prices on a 60 by 80 building.
Well, the last one we built cost $1 million, so, you know.
No.
Where was it?
The Greenfield Road, that was a
Oh,
second
no, this
station.
is not gonna be.
That's more like a,
So this is because Brandon quit going out and servicing that area, is that right?
Well, they had to.
Well, I think that even.
It still falls outside the 5 mile
Right.
zone.
Right.
It does.
And the insurance rates have gone up.
it's in the
because
response,
of
being the
that.
response area, not the rated area.
Right.
That's some mess they got out there.
It will be spent until it comes before this board.
Well, we already budgeted and voted for our budget, so we have spent it.
No money will be expended until it comes before this board. Right? Okay.
So just out of curiosity, the money that we get out of this, does it get to go back to the departments that it come from?
Okay.
That'll help pay for the new fire station on Shallow Road.
Absolutely. Since we already budgeted for it, about the siren.
I think it's been answered. I saw Bob this morning.
All right.
Okay.
Now, for talking about sirens, as we indicated by the controller for the sirens was struck by lightning this weekend, fixed it, then you find out that the next part didn't work. Hopefully back from Chicago right now, so that we can try to get the sirens back up. The sirens are not working as we sit here, and it had to do with the lighting that is, they're being worked on to get back up.
All right. Got it. All right. We don't have anything else. I'll accept the motion to adjourn until April 2nd. Motion by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Hey Janice, you get this thing from Central Plan Development for our next meeting?